Welcome to the E-Show with Neil Ravin. Founded in 2013, the EHL has become the college placement leader on the East Coast. Sit back and learn more about the next step in your junior hockey career.
Welcome to the E-Show, presented by the Penalty Box Foundation. The Foundation's mission centers around their daily motto, we take care of our own, as they help out all of those within the hockey community who've experienced a catastrophic event. Learn more at penaltyboxfoundation.org. What's up? My name is Neil Ravin, and this is episode number 172 of the E-Show. On this week's episode, we feature the only EHL program that has appeared in all 5 editions of the Frozen Finals, the New Hampshire Avalanche. Jake Basile chats with Chris Cerrella as the head coach and GM of the Avs reflects on another record-setting season for his program. While Cerrella has helped over 160 players make their NCAA commitment while playing in the EHL, that impressive total includes over 100 players since he helped launch the Avalanche program back in 2017, a milestone marker that he surpassed this past season as part of a 16-player class that has chosen their next step. Simply put, the Avalanche sit towards the top of all teams in junior hockey, averaging over 17 commitments per season.
Hello, E-Show. Today, for our Coach's Corner chat, we are joined by a veteran of the EHL since its inception. Before his time behind the bench, he created a legacy at Quinnipiac University, where he still stands today as their all-time leading scorer. He is a former professional player and has been coaching for nearly 2 decades. Welcome, New Hampshire Avalanche head coach and general manager, as well as 2-time EHL champion, Chris Cerrella. Coach Cerrella, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
So another season for the Avalanche that came to a close at Providence, 5 for 5 in terms of making it there, 4 for 5 in terms of making the championship game. Why does this event, as Neil said on the podcast, simply not happen without the Avalanche?
Yeah, I know it's kind of funny to think of it that way, but it's really tough to get there. The league is so good. There's so much, every game is a close game. It's very hard to get there at the end, and especially this year in our division. That North Division was a grind, and it's just been worked out in our favor, I guess you can say. We've got some lucky bounces. We've had some good teams, and we've beaten a lot of good teams. So it's been a good run, that's for sure.
And the Avs season, the regular season itself, ended in February, which is early for most teams. Most teams are ending in that first week of March. So how do you use that time in between the regular season and the first round?
Yeah, we love that break. We've done it almost every year, to be honest with you. We just love that break. I think it's just good for our mental, our mental stability and our physical, getting guys back from injuries, whatever it is. And then we just kind of work on team stuff, and we do a lot of small area work, and we just basically polish what we've done really well all season. And then we do a ton of individual video, and we just prepare our guys for the playoffs, because the playoffs is a brand new season. I think a lot of people forget. I mean, look at the Florida Panthers, how they walked all the way to the finals, right? And nobody ever thought they were going to do that. So the playoffs is a new season. So anybody can beat anybody at that point. Every team is good. Every goalie's hot. So it's a grind. So we just prepare our guys for basically season number 2 is what we do. So we go back to the basics and work on power play and special teams, and we basically start over again.
So season number 1, as you would say, ended with a President's Trophy, and obviously best record in the league, most wins in the league, most scoring up and down the lineup. What did you view as this team's biggest strength?
I'll be completely honest with you. We had, I think, depth. I think even, our fourth line guys, even our 13th skater. Yeah, I mean, if you look at our fourth line in the playoffs, all 3 guys were NCAA D3 committed. So that's huge. So our depth was great, but I think our strong point was on the back end. I really do. I think our defense was good. They were tough, moved pucks well, transitioned well. We brought in the addition there, Robert Martinello, towards playoffs, and who really gave us a boost on the back end. And I think just defensively, we're very good, and we're very fortunate to have a large amount of that core group back for next season. So we're really looking forward to that as well. We were very stingy, and I think that kind of helped us.
Yeah, so that '03 heavy decor from last season naturally means that some guys are going to come back. Martinello, one of them, Bayer, Santinelli, Pelletier, all set to return. That's huge. Two of those guys didn't play all year long, and Martinello and Bayer, who had dealt with injuries. So, how excited are you to have most of that group back, but especially those guys that didn't get to spend all year with you?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's great. I think Martinello returning for a full season is going to be a big bolster. It's going to bolster our power play and things like that. Getting Malachi back from his injury, which he got injured in the first round of the playoffs with a broken hand. So I think those two guys are keys. And then just great play by Pelletier and Santinelli down the stretch and in the playoffs. Man, they were good. And they were just fun to watch. And having those guys back at that core is so important. Then we have, obviously Robidoux back in net, who we were very familiar with. He did a great job last year. He did get injured. He was not available in the playoffs. He was hobbling on one leg in the finals there in Providence. I have to give him a lot of credit for that. So we are returning some really good pieces on the back end, and we feel we've brought some really good players in on that back end as well. So I think that core has only gotten better, to be honest.
And the forward depth, of course, we have to address too. We were talking about Providence, how the third line had more points than a lot of teams' first lines throughout this season. So did you feel like that gave you a lot of freedom in terms of mixing and matching lines?
Yeah, we could pretty much, to be honest with you, it was fortunate I didn't have to do that. Even when we played Seacoast in the playoffs, and their one line was deadly. And if you go back and watch that series, we didn't put our top line against their top line. We never took a line off to put another line out. If Coach Trider made that change, we were very confident in all the guys that played, up front. We did a little bit of matching on the back end sometimes, yes, but up front, I mean, at the end of the year in the playoffs, Evan Victor was our fourth line forward, and he was taking faceoffs in our zone. So everybody played. It was fantastic.
And you mentioned that Seacoast had one of the best lines in the league, and we always talked about how the state of New Hampshire had the two best lines in the league, Preomax with Seacoast and Dan McKiernan, Aiden Hotchkiss, and Kyle Dan for your team. But they weren't together for the playoffs. What was the impetus behind splitting them up? And did that create any other combinations that you liked?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Dan Racino Hotchkiss line was very good. Racino obviously battled a little bit of injuries this year, and then he battled the stomach flu the 3 days, Monday, Tuesday. He didn't even practice with us before Providence. Racino stepping up gave us the ability to kind of drop Danny. Not really, obviously we didn't really have lines 1, 2, 3, 4 because everybody played, but it gave me the ability to put Danny McKiernan in a different spot, who was a pure goal scorer. And as you can see, it was successful, especially in Providence, because that's all he did was score goals. So it was excellent.
And Aaron Racino is a guy that we spoke about at Providence, and you said he was becoming one of the more underrated players in the league. What are some of the details about his game that may not stand out to an untrained eye?
Yeah, I mean, I just think his skating and skill is just fantastic. If he can stay healthy, he's going to be dominant this year. He scored some really big goals for us, when he was healthy, which, we're looking forward to having that more. His power play, he's been great on the power play. He was playing probably at 60% in the Frozen Finals. For him to play the way he played at 60% just goes to show how good he really is. So I'm really looking forward to him being, coming into this year's training camp at full force and jumping in right away.
And both your teams were at Providence, E and EHLP, which, like the E team, had no shortage of offense. So Hunter Atkinson and AJ Gazzardi are two guys that were part of that big offensive group last year and are now going to make the jump from P to E. What are your expectations for those two?
Yeah, I think both those. Basically, with anybody you bring up, it's just how quickly they meet their learning curve, right? Because it is now the next level. It's like anything else, going from high school, midget, or prep school to junior, and then junior to college. It's a process. So the quicker they adapt to it, the better off they'll be. So those two guys definitely looking forward to, as well as as Jake Hines as well. We did move Jake Hines up, who has an unbelievable motor. So I think that those three guys kind of fit our style the most. There was some other good players that had some numbers, but we just, we felt with our playing style that those three guys, we like to play fast, obviously. So, those three guys not only can they play offensively, but they can skate. So we brought those guys up and think it's going to be a great situation for them as 04s. I think as long as they compete hard, they'll have no problem adjusting.
And Avalanche, it's been an eventful offseason for you guys, and most eventful maybe in goal. After a great year with the Valley Junior Warriors of our league, Sam Bose is going to be joining the Avalanche. He kind of took the league by storm after joining Valley this past season. So how much does this change things for you guys?
Yeah, we're looking forward to it. It gives us two good veteran goalies, and that's going to be great. So on any given night, either guy can go. I think Sam, I think he beat us twice, once in overtime at the Newington showcase there, where he was just fantastic. So yeah, we're very, very glad to have him. And I think he makes us that much better on the back end. So between our veteranship in net and our veteranship on the back end on defense, I think it gives us a good combination to once again be a stingy team and not give up a lot.
And to wrap up this past season, I know the part you're most proud of, like any other coach would be, is the 15 commitments, the most of any team in the league this past season. The Avalanche have led the commitment scene for years now. So what are some things that you guys focus on in New Hampshire to hammer home the idea of college preparation?
Yeah, I think the first biggest thing is obviously, ownership. Our owner, Mario Martinello, is great. He gives us every resource and ability to do whatever we need to do to make sure our guys are, trained not only physically, but mentally. We have two gyms now. We have one on site at the rink. We have one Roots Athletics, where our full-time strength coach is. We have a full-time goalie coach and unlimited ice. So right off the bat, we have resources from our ownership that are unmatched, in my opinion. And then from there, we recruit college ready guys that just need a gap year to train and develop. And I think that's the most important thing. We do a lot of research on our players. We do a lot of, we check in with college guys to find out, hey, who are you watching? Who do you like that's a year away? We do a lot of that stuff. So I think that kind of helps us in that process, that a lot of our guys come and do 1 year and done. It's not easy, but they do. Most of it is 2 years, but a lot of our guys come in 1 year and done, which is incredible. So we've been very fortunate. And, I think it just comes down to recruiting the right guys.
And one more part of the season that is certainly worthy of a lot of pride is the Avalanche's Autism Awareness Night. So can you talk about the inspiration behind the event and the way your team rallies around a very special cause and person?
Yeah, I think it's awesome, to be part of such a good cause and have a game and jerseys and have the players and families participate. It does touch home a little bit. My son Kyle battles autism every day. He's an Avalanche #1 fan. He's on our group chat. He talks to the guys all the time. Unfortunately, just because of where he is with his mental health issues, he is not able to go to games anymore. But he follows every game. He has hockey TV. He does everything that he needs. He chats with the guys. He goes on social media with them. He's just a very big part, and our guys rally around that. His nickname is the Cheese, and he loves it. They've embraced him, and he's embraced. Hockey has kept him. It's unbelievable how much he knows about hockey. He did play some junior B hockey back when I was in Hartford for me. It's unbelievable how much he knows about hockey. It's incredible. So I think it just inspires everybody. He's the first one to say, welcome to the team when we introduce a new guy into our team group chat. He's the first guy to say, great job on a college commitment. So he's very heavily involved. And, we're hoping one day he kind of gets past it and is able to return to the rink. But everybody is well aware that he's watching. So it is kind of nice. And then, it gives us that, dad-son bond. Hockey has created a very good bond for us. something that I will never forget. And I'm very fortunate to have him. He lightens up my day every now and then. So it's very good.
How did he get the nickname the Cheese?
Well, he is my non-biological. He is my stepson, but he is my son. But his last name is Romano.
Oh,
So I believe it was AJ Prostowski. Um, about 5 years ago, he played for us. He's now at SUNY Cortland. I believe he was the one that gave Kyle that nickname, the Cheese, and it kind of stuck from there. But at that time, Kyle was going to games. He was going in the locker room. He was doing, he's going on trips to showcases and staying for 3 days at that time. So it really stuck with him. And now he's just known as the Cheese. And it's kind of like league wide. Other kids know. I know our league staff knows that, stuff like that. So it's really nice to see everybody, not just uh, our players, but other players and stuff that now message him and have friended him on social media, supporting him and his cause. And it's been really good, not only just for the Avalanche players, but I think it's been great for the Eastern Hockey League too.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely summed it up. As good as it, I see him on social media a lot as well, and he's always talking about the Avs and wanting to get back. So I'm hoping he can get there.
Yeah.
So we will shift the conversation to you a bit, getting to know you. Quinnipiac legend Chris Cerrella, #1 all time in goals and points in history. So what was your reaction to seeing them win it all this year?
Oh, I thought it was great. I thought it was great. I text both Coach Pecknell, who was my coach, and Coach Dume. I text them all along, kind of, great job. I threw a couple of jokes in there, and hey, if you need any scoring, let me know. I think I have eligibility left, kind of thing, and make them laugh a little bit during a pretty tense time. But it was fantastic. I mean, they were well coached and they just did a great job. And, I think they just followed to a T. And Coach Pecknell is a great recruiter, and so is his staff. His staff does a great job. So it was amazing. And whoever thought this school that a lot of people couldn't even pronounce when I had gone there from the USHL, would be such a big market team now. It's definitely exciting. It's built a lot of excitement with the alumni. It's built a lot of excitement with the state of Connecticut, and the Northeast. So it's been great. I'm a proud alum.
Yeah. And those Quinnipiac teams that you were on, they won a lot of games as well.
Yeah.
So what were some of your fondest memories from playing there?
Yeah, I mean, I think like scoring goals at the University of Maine, scoring against RPI and Clarkson, and just being able to, at that time, the Quinnipiac played at a town rink in Northford, and so none of the teams would really come travel to us. So all the big name teams on the Northeast, we would have to go to them. So we played at Maine, at RPI, at Clarkson, at Yale. We played everything on the road, at Air Force, at University of Minnesota. So it was, it was kind of that part was fun because you're playing those bigger name teams on the road in their buildings. Going to Maine with, I don't know, 4,000 or 5,000, playing at University of Minnesota, probably 8,000. It was a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
So how was the local turnout for your games at a community rink like Northford?
Yeah, we would. I mean, I think there was 1,000, 1,500 seats. We would, they were bleachers. We would fill up that whole entire one side with fans. There was a lot of support. Even teachers would come to the games. Al Carbone at the time was the admissions director. He was at every game. So there was a lot of support even at that time.
So prior to college, you were playing junior hockey in the USHL in Iowa. So how different was the game that you were playing as a junior hockey player versus coaching now?
Oh, well, in the USHL was, at that time it was a little rougher. There was a lot of, NHL guy, draft picks like Mark Eaton and Jason Blake and guys like that. So you still had that stuff where there was the NHL connection. Still was a lot of Division I hockey players, but I think it was a little different because social media has really made things so much bigger. And there was no social media when I played in the USHL. So, it wasn't every commitment nobody really knew. You just knew from being around the league, and you would go to, say Waterloo would play Omaha. We would go and we would read the pregame press clippings that they would leave in the locker room. It's, oh, Scott Lephart committed and, things like that. So, but we had no idea otherwise because just social media. But the game itself it's more skill and speed now. Back when I played, there was no room. You were getting slashed and hooked and cross-checked and fighting, and it was a different game. Just like the NHL is pretty much a different game now than the mid '90s, right? So, I think. But everything changes over, the generations change, every sport kind of changes over the years, the rules change, everything changes. So, I think it was just rougher. There was still a lot of good players, but I think it was just a little rougher.
Yeah. And post college, you moved on to a professional career where you were all over Louisiana, Tennessee, Florida, Connecticut as well. So
Yeah.
was there a particular team or place that still stands out to you today?
I think Orlando was fantastic. Obviously, you're going to the rink in November, December. You're going to the rink in flip-flops. So that was kind of awesome, obviously. So the area you played in it's called something different now, but it was the TD Waterhouse where the Orlando Magic played. So it was awesome. And then New Haven was probably my second, obviously being in that area with Quinnipiac for as long as I was. New Haven was awesome. And it was also close to home. So I had a lot of family members come out and watch me play pro hockey. So that was pretty cool as well.
And your coaching career, it started at the college level. So when did you know that this was something that you wanted to stay in? And how did you end up at Wentworth?
Yeah, well, I left, I finished my pro career, retired, I guess you could say, my pro career. And I had a son at the time. I think it was time to get a big boy job, right? Yeah. I came back to the Northeast area and just started working. I worked at a car dealership and, starting it, and I just was like, this is just not for me. So what I did was I applied for Wentworth's assistant coaching job. I got it. And I worked basically 2 jobs for a year, learning how to recruit and, run practice. I had never run a practice before, so I was part of that. It took me a little while to learn that. Being on the other side of the bench was definitely different, but it was the closest thing to being on the ice. So yeah. I think that's when it kind of dug in and, I said to myself, well, this is what I want to do. I can see myself doing this. Coaching at what level I didn't know where it was. I had no idea once I took that job at Wentworth where this was going to take me. And 17 years later, here I am.
So you were a recruiter when you were at Wentworth, like you said. Yeah. So how different are the things that scouts are asking you about players now versus the things that you were looking for then?
Yeah, no, I kind of learned to recruit on my own. The coach at that time was in his first year as a head coach, and I kind of just went off and did my own. I think the biggest thing with recruiting is finding what works for you, and how you're not always looking for the best player or whatever. The guy with the most points. You got to look for the guys that are going to fit your team, and I think that's what I learned is how to build depth and how to recruit to replace, so if a senior's leaving and he's, a power forward type guy, you want to try to find another guy just like him. So, I kind of learned that recruiting process that way. And then I just stuck with it as we moved forward. And then you start developing your networks. A lot of the guys that were coaching college hockey when I started coaching college hockey are still coaching college hockey. There are even guys that when I was playing junior hockey were coaching college hockey. So believe it or not, such as Ram Pecknell, who was my coach at Quinnipiac, is still there today. So, it's great to have that kind of network. And I know a lot of these coaches, not only as a colleague at the college level when I did coach there, but now as a colleague at the junior level. So I've known some of these guys for 20 plus years. So it's really been amazing.
And your transition to junior hockey was with Walpole in the old Atlantic League. So
yeah,
you said that you didn't know where it would take you after when you started at Wentworth. So was junior hockey something that was appealing to you, or was it a matter of opportunity?
I think it was a little bit of both. I think it was a little bit of both, but I saw the junior hockey opportunity as something to become a head coach right away. And then if I ever wanted to jump back into college hockey, I would have a little bit more coaching under my belt. I was hired by the Barletta family, and I was there for about 2 or 3 years, and it was excellent. And then kind of went on to my next opportunity. At that point, I was just trying to build a resume and do the best I can, and see where it took me. And then it took me to obviously kept me in the AJHL and then to the EHL, and I don't just have now a coaching job; I have a coaching career. So it's that was very important to me. And if you really look, I've been in 3 places when it came to junior hockey, and Walpole at 3, but then Hartford at 9. And now I'm going into my, I think, seventh season already with the Avs. So you know, it's I think it was definitely opportunity. Definitely opportunity.
So you were with the Wolfpack at the EHL's inception when it formed from the old AJ. So how different were the configurations and makeup of your teams then versus now?
My teams then, when I was in Walpole and Hartford, we were an older school hockey team. We beat you on the scoreboard and we beat you up, in the corners and whatever. Hockey was different, recruiting was different. Now with the Avs, we're more, speed and skill, and hockey IQ. Where back then we were more power forward type. Yeah, we did have some skill guys mixed in, but we were tough and we were big, and teams didn't want to play us a lot. Where now teams might not want to play us for different reasons. But so back then it was more power type players we looked for. And then when I got to New Hampshire, you got to adapt to the times as a coach. And the game of hockey is more about speed and skill, and that's what we recruit now.
And from a league standpoint, I know it's a long time to think about, but you've been here since the start. So are there any big developments that you've noticed in the overall Eastern Hockey League over the course of the decade?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is that we've adapted to our identity and we've stuck with it. I think the biggest thing is that we have now taken over the landscape of Division III and Division II college commitments. There's no other league in this country that does what we do at the D2 and D3 level. Nobody. So I think that was the biggest thing, where I think back in the AJ it was kind of more of a a wild west in terms of our identity, where it was just kind of a mixed match. And I think as the league has developed, I think forming an identity has been so big. I think it helps our recruiting, and I think it helps families realize that there's something more than just Division I college hockey. Division I college hockey is so tough to get to now. I think it's like an 8%, right? And there's only 62, 64 teams with some additions. That's only really 420 players, 500 players a year that get that chance. And if you think about it, the USHL probably has about 250 of that. So, the chances are very, very slim. So there's more to hockey, and there's more to academics and education than just going to play Division I hockey. And I think that helps our cause that we have branded that D2, D3 league. It helps us with our recruiting, because now families say, wow, we never thought, hey, go to Wesleyan instead of going to Princeton, like things like that, so I think it's really has helped our brand. It's helped our teams, our organizations. It's helped our coaches and owners. It's really been a big step for us.
And finally, we have to address recruiting season. You're well known as one of the better recruiters in this league. So without giving away too much of your secrets, do you think you have a specific recruiting style or anything that you could give us an inside look at?
Yeah, I think everybody has their own style, obviously, and they all work for everybody in different ways. I'm just very thorough in what I do. I don't just jump at players and offer them. I try to put them at the level they belong and where where they fit. And I think that's why our premier team has been so good, because there are some good players that end up there. But for the EHL level, I just use my networking. I do watch a lot of prep school hockey, a lot of games. I basically go anywhere to find a good player. It doesn't matter what league, what team, where they're from, who they are, as long as they're a great person, a great teammate, a good student, and they play kind of our style. Again, I do a lot of recruit to replace. So I know I'm losing Kyle Dan, Aiden Hotchkiss, Danny McKieran, and I'm losing some. So now, not only my good core players, I know I have to replace those guys. I can't just fill them with guys that aren't going to fit for us. But I just use a lot of my network. I do. I speak to a lot of the college guys, and say, have you seen anybody you think I should watch that might be a future guy for you? And that's basically it. There's no tricks to the trade or no secret magic potion or anything like that. And then I go after the guys that I really want. And we want players to want to be here, so we go after the right ones.
All right, Coach, thank you so much for your time. Good luck with the rest of recruiting season, and we can't wait to see what guys are in the skates of Potsdam next year, because that's going to be exciting.
Yeah, I agree. I'm really looking forward to, my 17th season of coaching, and I'm looking forward to another great year in this league with the other great coaches and great staff. I never left because I never wanted to, and that's a good feeling to have, that every day you go to practice or go to games or go to showcases and you're just surrounded by other great people. And you learn from that. I've learned a lot from a lot of the new younger coaches that are coming in and things like that, and it's been great, and I'm definitely looking forward to another great year.
Yeah, absolutely. And you don't need to go anywhere anytime soon, Coach. We love having you. We love having you on the E Show. So thank you.
Thank you very much as well.
Thanks for listening to the E Show. Learn more at easternhockeyleague.org and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Also, be sure to subscribe and get notified when next week's podcast is released.